All right, so I had a question yesterday on how this should be set up. So I put together a PowerPoint. You guys can actually see um, what it is. I shared it to you guys within the assignment. But this is if you're not going to look at it that way, I just wanted to show you this is what it looks like. Um, so I did Thomas Hobbes. He's not the most well-renowned Renaissance type person. He's kind of more of a thought process of the Enlightenment time frame, but we're still looking at him kind of here as a Renaissance thinker. And what we're looking at here is my title slide picture of him, and I just put Renaissance man underneath there. And then the next slide that I have down is just another picture of him, his background of when he was born, where he graduated from. He worked for the Cavendish family in England. It's little known about his mother, but they knew his father was a disreputable local clergyman. In 1629, he translated Theodosius's History of the Peloponnesian War to English, and Hobbes traveled around Europe in the 1630s, meeting people like Galileo and Francis Bacon. Before he did most of his stuff, this was him as a person. So there is one. There are two slides done. Here's my video that I embedded. I showed you guys how to do that. If you have a question on that, you're more than welcome to ask, and I will show you again how to embed that in there. And then the two questions that come from it. No, you don't have to answer the two questions, but definitely make sure the two questions are coming from your video, because if I choose to watch your video and I don't find the two questions in there, I'm going to dock you points. So my two questions from it are: what event in history led to the political thinking that we know Hobbes for today? That would be the English Civil War. And Hobbes believed in the state of nature. How did he view humans when in the state of nature without any government? He thought that humans would basically kill each other. We need some type of government to keep us level-headed and straight thinking, of not trying to go after each other. We'll put it that way. Here's another one. That Hobbes was exiled to France during the English Civil War, and while in France, he writes the book Leviathan, which is what we know him for, in 1651. The work looks at the structure of society and legitimate government. Leviathan is regarded as the most earliest and influential book about the social contract theory, and it is still published and read today. I put a quote of his up there: government is necessary not because man is naturally bad, but because man is by nature more individualistic than social. In 1666, Hobbes became concerned with being labeled a heretic because of being an atheist. Interesting, because his dad was part of the clergy. Being interested in heresy, Hobbes actually researched and wrote three short dialogues on it that were added to Leviathan in 1668. After this, he was not allowed to be published, or not. After this, he was not allowed to publish anything in England, because he basically went against the church. Six slides down, I decided to go with who Hobbes' main competition was, and this guy was John Locke. He wrote the two treatises of government in 1689, and Locke believed that people should be sovereign and could be reasonable, unlike Hobbes, who thought we would all kill each other. Locke also thought people had natural rights. Unlike Hobbes, he thought people should give up their rights to government. Excuse me. And I ask you guys a question on the bottom, or whoever was viewing this. What side would you choose? Would you choose Locke, saying that we have natural rights and that human beings are actually nice? Or would you choose Hobbes, meaning that human beings are inherently bad, and that we need a government to keep us straight? 7 down. The 8th one, I did Hobbes was influenced by great thinkers in history like Aristotle, Rene Descartes, and Niccolo Machiavelli. Although Hobbes was not the most influential Renaissance thinker to our founding fathers, he did set the stage for the social contract theory that became an influential part of the American Declaration of Independence. 9. Hobbes died on December 4th, 1679, at the age of 91. His body was interned in St. John the Baptist Church, Aldhooknall in Derbyshire. His last words were said to have been, "A great leap in the dark," were uttered during his final conscious moments. Hugely influential, Hobbes' ideas form the building blocks of nearly all Western political thought, including the right of the individual, the importance of republican government, and the idea that acts are allowed if they are not expressly forbidden. And my last one, I asked you guys to put what you learned. I learned that Hobbes was one of the first to think about the social contract theory, and that this theory influenced many democratic movements throughout the world. I learned that Thomas Hobbes lived to the age of 91 during a time when people did not live long lives. I learned that Thomas Hobbes was influenced by Aristotle and Machiavelli, and I learned that Thomas Hobbes was an atheist, unlike his father, who was part of the clergy. Excuse me. So that is kind of how, if I were you, I would set something up. Remember, there are a bunch of different ways to set this up. This took me, I don't know, about an hour and a half to put together. So just so you can see, an hour and a half to put this all together. And the cool thing about Google Slides is you don't have to go outside of Google Slides to find pictures. If you want to, I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to let you show you. You can search from the web right here. So look, I searched for Declaration of Independence. If you want to do, let's say you're doing Michelangelo, and you want to look at the Sistine Chapel. Type in Sistine Chapel, and look, you get all these pictures. All you have to do is click on it, and click Insert, and it'll insert right onto there, and then you can manipulate it and move it where you want to go. You can also, type in Michelangelo to bring up all of what they have that he has actually sculpted. There's a self-portrait of him. So you can see you have many different aspects of being able to put pictures in there. So that is kind of how you did that. How I got these up here. This is just word art. So if you click and insert word art, type in here what you want, hit enter, it comes up. You can change the color of it just like you would change text and size and so forth and so on. So I hope that kind of helps you guys a little bit on what I'm looking for and how I want it to be to be set up. And remember, your setup doesn't have to be exactly what mine is. If you want to use it as a template, have at it. No one is allowed to pick Thomas Hobbes. You cannot do the same exact thing that I did because it's going to be cheating because you're going to just get all your information from me. There are enough Renaissance thinkers out there that you guys can find someone that is not Thomas Hobbes. So let's in fact start looking at a little bit more of these Renaissance thinkers. So we look at advances in sculpture. Okay, remember yesterday we were talking about Filippo Brunelleschi, however you want to say it, and how he created the Duomo and the way he created the Duomo, the interesting aspects of his bricks and all of those things, and he was that original uh, architectural thinker at that point in time. So he is somebody that you can pick if you would like, and there's probably a lot of information out there, I know, because he really didn't. He was an apprentice for a very long portion of his life until he was then given this contract to finish this. So we're looking at the Madonna here, um, and we're going to look at the movement of sculpture. So advances in sculpture. So for the first time since Greece and Rome, people started making freestanding sculptures that were 3D. It was very different from the sculptures in medieval times, because these new statues caused a sensation that they symbolized the humanist ideas of nature, realism, and the importance of that individual. Donatello, who was a Florentine artist, was one of the first sculptors to use the new, more lifelike style. His work expressed personality and mood. A good example is his life-size statue of David, the young warrior in the Bible story of David and Goliath. Michelangelo is also known for both his paintings, but he's also known for his sculpting also. He was also a talented poet and architect. Of all these arts, he preferred sculpture because it seemed to bring his subjects to life. Michelangelo's David was installed in the Piazza della Signoria, with a plaza in front of the Palazzo Vecchio. It became the prized expression of Renaissance genius in Florence, and Michelangelo had an enormous influence on other artists. Michelangelo, like I was saying, he's really this guy who um, is well known, other than Leonardo da Vinci, for what he did during the Renaissance. Um, this is the plaza where his statue of David is, and you can see the old aspect of this plaza, and the horses guarding it. But it's a very interesting plaza that shows really the Renaissance movement and the thought process of the Renaissance people. So let's look up some. I'm going to show you guys some of Donatello's Italian sculpting. So here is a sculpture that Donatello has that he made. And you can see, let's see, David here. Yes, David is naked. Get over it. Um, that's just how he how they sculpted. But you can see the life size aspect of David. You can see here. This is a good look at the face, where obviously he's not the most lifelike with facial expressions, or the face in itself, but you can at least see he has some aspects of the mouth that show that he was probably you can see he was, he had a facial expression at that point in time, a little bit with the mouth. What we're lacking is this area, um, the area where he his cheekbones would be showing something. But you can see, though, David's Donatello's sculptures at this point in time, especially with David. Um, this is what Donatello looked like. Um, here's another one, The Head of a Child by Donatello. But you can see Donatello was very interested in his sculpting. Now, this one is a very creepy sculpture that he put together. This is the penitent Magdalene, so Mary Magdalene. There's one that's closer. Where is it at? I think it's underneath it. But look at the face of that woman. Very very lifelike, um, zombie looking aspect. So you can see that as he progressed within his sculpting abilities, they definitely became more lifelike and wanting to be seen. And then of course you have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Donatello. Perfect. Um, so that is Donatello. We'll look at Michelangelo later, or Michelangelo, but literature. Okay, let's look at literature really quick. All right, so a lot of people don't think of literature as being uh, at the forefront of, excuse me, forefront of the Renaissance, but it really was. And you have this couple of crazy books that come out during this time, and people that were writing during this time began to have some out of the box thinking and writing, um, and what you can see within this is is very odd. Let's move this up here. So these people actually right here are are going to hell. You can see the demons overlooking them, and these people are walking to hell. These are the levels of purgatory, and this is actually Florence, and this is Dante, the guy who wrote all of this crazy stuff. So moving on, we look at Renaissance writers were interested in individual experiences in the real world. They wrote about secular or non-religious topics a lot. Writers used a more individual style. They expressed thoughts and feelings about life. Most importantly, by the end of the Renaissance, most writers were writing in their own languages instead of Latin. Remember, that is using vernacular or the common language at that point in time. This means that more people can read their works. So we get to this dude, Dante Alighieri of Florence. Okay, he was a very interesting writer. He wrote something called the Divine Comedy in the 1300s, and basically what this poem does is describe Dante's imaginary journey through the afterlife. Within it, he witnesses the torments of souls condemned to the inferno, which, according to Christian belief, is a place of punishment after death for one's sins. Um, he also takes Dante to Purgatorio, which, according to Catholic tradition, is a place where souls await entry into heaven. The Divine Comedy is a social commentary. It contains characters who were real people at this point in time, and the inhabitants of the Inferno included people who Dante really disapproved of. So he was like, you know what, screw you guys, I don't like you. You are going to end up going to the Inferno because you should be in hell, because that's where you should go, because I don't like you. Um, and then you get the people he admired were in Paradiso, which is the nice place, paradise. So you have this view of Dante during this time and the Divine Comedy, and you can really see how um, politics, I guess, of life come into play with this guy and with the people that write. Now, I don't remember if I have a picture of. No. All right. So let's look up Dante's Inferno. There it is. There was actually a game at one point. Yes, Dante's Inferno. But this is the picture of where you would be for the where you'd be if you were in hell. And these are all of the different levels of purgatory to get to hell. Now, obviously, the bottom is down there is the last one, and it's hell. But you can see each level means something different. And let me see if I can actually find this translated to English. What's this? It's very small. But there you go. You can see in the first layer, so hey, up here, everybody's living, doing their thing. In the first layer, we have limbo. So you got limbo. Second layer, you have lust. Third layer is gluttony. Fourth is greed. Fifth, anger. Heresy is sixth. Violence, fraud, and treachery. So, if you can complete all of those tasks, you will go straight down. If you don't complete all those tasks, let's say you complete anger, you go all the way to anger. You don't get to hang out in lust. But each of them had a different punishment for each of the levels also. And I know I don't think we can read that. But it says, let's see if this comes up. See it. So right here. So if you were an unbaptized and virtuous pagan, you were struck with grief from a lack of God's presence, you go to limbo. Lustful, contorted and blown about violent and endless wind, your soul strikes underworld rock. If you go down to anger, you engage in eternal combat with one another on the surface of the river Styx. Yes, like the band Styx, if you know what that band is. Where bodies of sullen are the bottom. Sounds like a great place to be. If you are committing heresy, let's see what we've got here. You heretics and false teachers are locked in burning stone coffins. Sounds like a great place to go. If you come all the way down to hypocrites, you are forced to wear cloaks of lead if you're a hypocrite. If you were an alchemist, you relax, compelled to scratch their itching skin for life. If you were a corrupt politician, oh boy, you were immersed in a pool of boiling pitch. And if you were a gambler, you are chased by hounds the entirety of your time in purgatory. If you're a tyrant or a robber, you're forced to swim in a boiling stream of blood. So you can see it's definitely it's an interesting thought process that Dante writes about during his time as being brought through the aspects of afterlife. So this is a William Shakespeare poem. We'll watch it real quick. It's All the World's a Stage.
All the World's a Stage, from As You Like It, by William Shakespeare. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy, with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths, and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice. In fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe, and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon. With spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank. And his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange, eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
So I always thought this poem was very interesting. Very short, at being only 2 minutes and 20 seconds, but it really shows the stages of life that one may go through. You saw at the beginning where we're born into the world, and we're slobbering, on a nurse's arm, and we're in such a need for help, um, from the people that are around us. And then we get to this point where we are a, let's bring it up in words, actually, where we are a young, so we come to this where we bring up, where we become a young person, a very young person. And we go to school. It's like, the kindergarten, first and second grade years, where we have this view of life that is, not of this world. We'll put it this way, of how we see life as being a fun and exhilarating aspect. And then we become this new person after this, where we discover the love of another person, where you go through this, and what he's really talking about more than likely is puberty, um, where you start realizing that there's an opposite sex walking this earth with you. Then you get to this point here where we're a soldier, we're full of strange oaths, and bearded like the pard, we're jealous and honor, sudden and quick to quarrel. So you get to that 18 to like 24-year-old type age, where you're still trying to hold on to your youth, but you still have this belief of anger, and quickness to disagree with somebody. Um, and you want to continue having the reputation that you had in high school, and keeping that up. um, then you come to this point where you become, maybe, late 30s, or even 40 to 50, 55-ish, where you're no longer interested in truly, the oaths and the jealous of honor and the sudden and the quick to quarrel aspects of life, where now you are this, laid back gentleman who is considered more like a justice. You kind of have a fair round belly, like he says, with a good capoon lined. You have with eyes severe and beard a formal cut. And the interesting thing about this video was, through each of these, it really showed the different boats that you have in life as you're going through. If we get to the first point of here, where this is you being born, this is your shell. Um, this is you as a baby are very clean, we'll put it that way, mind wise, and you're influenced with people who are around you. You go to school, and you get this is your teacher, or maybe a parent or something like that, and this is you as a small schoolboy, little school kid, student. Then you get to this point where you graduate to a bigger boat, and now you are that older school age boy, and as you're moving through, now you get to this point where you've recognized the opposite sex, and you start interacting with them. And it goes really truly by boats. Here's that one where you are the one that's quick to quarrel. Um, you know, you have this lady that's still around you, but you're more interested in hanging out with the guys during this time, and not the ladies. Uh, and going out and, I guess, partying and doing that type of stuff. Then you get to this point right here where look at the boat you graduate to there, um, where it's a bigger boat. It's not as fast. It's not as, but it's not totally dull and end of life type boat. And look, he's smoking a cigar. He's got a hat on. He still has the beard, but as he's coming in port, you have this you know bigger boat, motorboat, come by him. And he doesn't even attempt to look at it. He's staying the course, and then you get to this point, which is down here with uh, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise jaws and modern incisate, and he so plays his part. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well shaved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble pipes. So you go from, you begin as a child and you almost end as a child, according to Shakespeare. Um, and then the final scene is you dying. And it's interesting because you see the old man row out here at the end, and everything ends, and then look, his boat is, or the boats of older people that are no longer here, are abandoned and skeletons. Um, so what Shakespeare does is really interesting with this, and not a lot of people look at Shakespeare as being a Renaissance guy. Um, but tomorrow we're going to look at Shakespeare himself. Again, if you guys need any help, please let me know. Hopefully, what I gave you guys today um, helps you. If you obviously can't find somebody to do, just search Renaissance thinkers. There's tons of lists out there. You can search by artist, sculptor, poet, uh, whatever you're looking for. Okay. So hopefully you guys have a good day. I'll talk to you guys later.